Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. I know it's the last session, so hopefully we'll keep it as entertaining as possible. So my name is Alex Colmenares. I'm actually a technology fellow at Deloitte, and on stage I have these two wonderful women from Ginnie Mae. Leslie Moggs, she is the Senior Vice President of the Issuer and Monitoring Division at Ginnie Mae, and Belinda Jackson is the Vice President of Modernization at Ginnie Mae. And today, we're going to talk to you guys about how business and IT work together to create a new application using low code that has been very successful. I think we can go to there we go. So we just have this one slide with our names. If you guys need to contact us, we're on LinkedIn, please feel free. And with that, I'm going to be facilitating the conversation today. So the first question is going to go to Leslie, and we're going to talk about the business really side of the modernization. So Leslie, on a business-led organization, the business-led transformation that we did at Ginnie Mae, how do you feel that the approach of using a business-led methodology helped in planning and implementing technology solutions? And can you share a little bit with the audience what the shifts in the way that people embraced the changes on the business side were, and how successful that was for stakeholders to embrace the change and be more collaborative?
Sure, thank you. It's delightful to be here. I feel a little bit out of my wheelhouse because I am definitely a business person. And just to give you a little bit of background about the business we're talking about, and I know some of you are public sector employees, government employees. So Ginnie Mae provides liquidity to the housing mortgage finance industry. We currently oversee a portfolio of north of $2.5 trillion in mortgages on behalf of the federal government. These are all government guaranteed loans that come into our securities. And so my team is responsible for overseeing about 400 financial institutions in this country, both depositories and non-depository institutions that provide mortgage lending and that issue Ginnie Mae securities, which have the full faith and credit of the United States government behind them. It's a tall order. I'm responsible specifically for single-family mortgages, for our multifamily mortgages that are guaranteed by the government, as well as providing all the monitoring and oversight of all these institutions and providing all the examinations of all those institutions to ensure safety, soundness, they're complying with our requirements. And I am the largest, I do run the largest division office at Ginnie Mae. So that, I just wanted to give everyone a little bit of context about the business we're talking about. So when I assumed this role, my predecessor really wasn't as much like in front of technology change for the organization. When I took over, I said, I want to be a voice at that table. We have to be a voice at that table. We know what we're trying to solve for in this organization. Traditionally, Ginnie Mae had allowed and nothing against our contractors that are here and our tech folks, but it was largely technology driven. People would say, well, we're going to do this, and they go away for 9 months and come back and show us something. I said, no. We need to be now a voice at the table, and we really need to specify what are we solving for at Ginnie Mae? What are our needs? What are we hearing our stakeholders tell us are the gaps in our programming, et cetera? So that is the position I took. And of course, change is not always embraced and easy, but I kind of said, this is the way it's going to be, folks. So I kind of made sure that was clear, that we didn't have the tail wagging the dog anymore, that indeed business needs to be kind of the center point of change, right? And what we know. So that was the start. Then Ginnie Mae did an amazing thing, which was to put together an innovation lab, right? So we had the opportunity then to be able to start to kind of test out different ideas. And actually, I first saw Appian low-code technology, Appian, with CSBS, which is a financial organization in Washington, D.C., where they were using it for their exam protocols. And we thought, wow, this is really great, because all the technology we had seen prior to that kind of had to fit into somebody else's framework, you know? And Ginnie Mae is the only institution of its kind in this country. Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae are identical in terms of their business model. Ginnie Mae is quite unique, and there's no other institution in the United States that is like Ginnie Mae. So our requirements are obviously very unique, and so we wanted to, I saw the technology and I thought, this is like McDonald's, we can actually have it our way. I mean, really, right? This is great, because we were trying to fit ourselves into some of these other technologies, and it's like, well, you've got to give up that, but you'll get this. And this way, we said, no, we can have my business, my SMEs, people that are working with our, inside of the business program day in and day out, to sit at the table now and start working with these folks and being able to rapidly develop new applications. And that's exactly what happened. And I will not, lie here. I mean, we had to take them away from, day-to-day business, because it was very demanding. But they were so motivated by the opportunity to build something that specifically met our needs, that they were willing to do whatever it took to make that happen. So the level of engagement by my staff was just amazing, and I think the team would agree. I mean, and this was multiple times a week, iterating, no, we really needed to do that. No. So we have ended up, we're going to deliver 3 applications early next month that will handle now all of our compliance exams. And it's a variety of exams that we do. We also have a protocol where it's regulatory to take in audited financials from all of these financial institutions and run them through a compliance process. That will be delivered, as well as all the reviewing we do on fidelity and E&O insurance. And that's yet another application. So we've been able to drive and get just what we want. And of course, being a government agency, we're also embedding kind of certification language here so that the users know that the information you're now sending to the federal government is true to the best of your knowledge. So it really has provided us an opportunity to really shift the paradigm very dramatically at Ginnie Mae to get business application done. And so, I mean, this was, when they asked me to come and speak today, I said I'm delighted to, because it's just such a success story. And being a business person and being this excited about technology, well, when you see what it can do for your staff, the kind of efficiencies now we're going to be able to drive into our processes, and the ability for me to use my staff for higher level activity and not a lot of the administrivia they had been mired in, is just a real win for us. So
awesome.
That is the answer to my question.
Wonderful. And I believe that one of the biggest success stories is the Innovation Lab, and the fact that Ginnie Mae did put together an Innovation Lab a while back, and it's really matured in the past couple of years. And with the low code and new technology into low code, it's actually even bloomed more. So, Belinda, in terms of the Innovation Lab, how do you feel that it's providing that collaborative environment for the business and IT to work together to come up with solutions that are really business driven? And what do you think that is the strength of that environment in terms of planting the seeds and let it see grow and allowing people to fail and find something before they move on to the actual implementation of the solution.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out the team. So first of all, Catrice Williams and LaWanda Dates, they were instrumental in working with Leslie's team to see this product through implementation. And then secondly, for Omar Barachi, for leading the innovation lab, brilliant mind. His finger is always on the pulse of everything emerging. So with respect to the innovation lab, I would say it's a safe space for us, right? So it's a safe space for diverse folks to come together, to ideate, to experiment with processes, with tools, and with ideas. And then, so in that, what happens is people feel okay, they feel comfortable coming in and playing around with stuff. They feel okay with failing because failure is the path to innovation. And for us, it's part of the process. So you can't say, no, we're not going to chastise you for failure. Absolutely not, because that's how you often born great ideas. And then, of course, it's like you think about in Omar's land, I would call it, he is very good at pairing innovation specialists with the business area. He facilitates design thinking sessions. He helps the team basically come together and work through things that they may not have worked through before. So from that perspective, that's how the innovation lab works for us. And then from the perspective of casting a wide net, it's from where the way I look at it is that, I'm the queen of contingencies. So in any situation, it's always best to go in with multiple ideas and explore as many ideas as possible. And then at the end of the day, one of them is going to bubble to the top. So it's like whatever works, whatever fits best. Of course, you have to do trade-offs, but that's par for the course. And then back to failure. When I first came to Ginnie, one of the things that happened is that, and it still happens today, people are not really open to failure. They kind of go off the edge a little bit. Oh, you messed up, blah, 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 blah. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of things that are in place today that we reap the benefit of. Like, for example, FedEx, where when it was originally pitched, it was a failure. But look at it today. So when it comes to tech, you just continue ideating through, you keep iterating through, and then ultimately you end up with a product that often blows your mind. And that's just what you have to do.
That's absolutely right. One of the things that we experienced, myself particularly having been supporting Ginnie Mae for a while, is the shift in mind in terms of the business folks being so involved. I mean, we talk about agile, we talk about, you go to conferences and you listen agile and working together, but when you actually see it working hand in hand, it's very powerful. So one of the things that I'd like to also highlight is really what this project, and particularly this tool, because of the low code ability to just quickly see something and collaborate between IT and the end users, and how we saw such a change in how the business units really engaged. It wasn't something that we saw requirements as the typical systems integrator. We would get requirements, go through a life cycle, produce something in an agile sprint way, and then 2 weeks or 4 weeks later, we show it, and the end user or the business user would say, no, this looks terrible, this is not what I want. With this project, it was really a two-way street. So Leslie, how do you feel that the business folks and the product owners, as we call it, how do you feel that they embrace the ownership of their processes now that they actually saw, they asked they looked at everything that was happening, and they were able to ask for changes? How do you think that they have embraced that new way of working with the contractors, with the technologists that are making the changes? And how does that differ from the way that Ginnie Mae operated in the past?
Well, as I mentioned before, in the past, people would just go off and produce something and come back, and we all would hope and pray it would work, you know, as we needed it to. I mean, they'd get it mostly right, but, you know, there was always things that was like, gosh, why didn't they ask the business? You know, we would have told them that it really needs to be that way. So my team has absolutely embraced this. I mean, and they feel like they have skin in the game now. They've helped design their workflows. And so they're very, very engaged. I was just on in a meeting with Lawanda last week with 3 of my folks. And I mean, they're all over, you know, okay, adoption and implementation and all the UAT tested. And I mean, so they feel very much a part of this. And I think it's really important to have people feel ownership for their world. And that they have some level of control. And it's not the old paradigm where somebody just kind of gave you something and you used it. And, you know, we're replacing some legacy systems that, I mean, I've said to my team, you know, these are an IG finding waiting to happen, you know, kind of thing. So we are just delighted that, you know, we're able to clean all that up now and really, you know, have people so excited about this. And everyone we've shown it to has just been really, I mean, they're just wowed and blown away. And we just really feel like, wow, you know, this is a great time to be embracing new technology because we are unique. We have very, very unique needs. And I know most agencies feel that way, but we're a government corporation. And so we do have quite unique needs. And this is just such a precise way of getting at those things that really will make Ginnie Mae a much more efficient and effective place to work.
Thank you. Yeah, I have witnessed that as well, and I think it's going to really change the way that we do things in the future because it's very rich in successful stories like that. Just make us happier, I guess is the right word. But one of the things that we want to look into in the future is how do we learn from what we have experienced with this new product. And Belinda, in terms of agile methodologies, what methodologies has Ginnie Mae looked into and adopted to embrace the modernization efforts that are ongoing? And how do you feel about the way that Ginnie Mae needs to look in the future in developing modernization efforts?
So I think that's a loaded question, but needless to say, this product that we're delivering for Leslie is the first of its kind, right? So it's the first time we've really truly leveraged fully an agile methodology. It's the first time we've had product owners. It's the first time we've had this level of engagement. And I do want to say thank you for trusting me with this effort, trusting with my team with it, because I know I've been asking you forever. And she finally said yes. So I'm glad that we're living up to the bar. But with respect to methodologies, agile methodologies, and modernization at Ginnie, so we're kind of on the very start of the maturity model. And we are adopting agile case by case because in our environment, not everything is applicable to utilizing an agile methodology. So where we can apply it, we do apply it. Right now, we are going through a cultural shift, and that's really, there's a mindset with doing everything agile. There is a resource requirement that we have to meet. You know, as Leslie mentioned, her team was very much embedded with the process from her day to day. And Ginnie Mae, from a staffing perspective, we're not necessarily where we need to be. So the load is pretty heavy in that space. And then with a lot of the efforts that we do have to assess them and say, okay, does an agile methodology apply here? What we have done, and this is where the innovation lab comes into place, is the team will do the needs assessments, and they'll convert the needs into functional, non-functional requirements. They will validate those with the business owners, and then we do POCs, which, as you know, is a methodology under Agile. And in this particular case, with this product, it did start with the POC, it went on to a technical POC, and then once we gained the agreement, it went on to a full-fledged product. For other projects, we're doing the same. And that actually gets to Leslie's point of taking requirements, walking away, and then hoping and praying that the product meets your needs. What we're able to do now is by employing this methodology is that we can put something in front of our users that they can react to. And if it doesn't work, then we adjust as necessary and, and then go back to the drawing board, make some more adjustments. And then once we have the buy-in of the business area, then we'll go to a full-fledged project. And in some cases, it will be a hybrid of Agile. And in some cases, it may be a waterfall. It really depends on the project. My hope is that in the future, within the modernization space, that the majority of our projects will be utilizing Agile methodologies. I don't know if we will get to that number, but that is my hope. So we will keep trying and iterate through.
And I think based on our first experience, it's almost self-reinforcing, right? So we're already thinking, okay, we're going to be doing these next several workflows now. And people are very enthusiastic about it. And it is so satisfying to be able to, like I said, have things your way. And so my team has bought into this whole approach. And I don't think we'll have any problem getting people to step up to say, look, I'm going to help with that because it's that important. So.
And that's part of the battle.
Yeah.
That's a huge part to get folks that weren't for it to kind of jump on the bandwagon with us.
But sometimes it just takes that first one,
it does.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you have
and
that
that's why
one,
I had
set
to
the precedence.
I had to thank Leslie because without her saying, yes, Belinda, I'll allow your team to take this on, we would never be here.
No, I agree. And I think that I'm really excited about the future because we need to set that type of mentality before we even begin. I know there's a lot of hype on artificial intelligence and what can go next, and I think we need to crawl before we walk kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So this is definitely the best first step. And I know that a lot of government agencies are going through a similar process. Agile has been out there for a long time, but not everyone has adopted it just yet. So it's really nice to understand how someone, a small agency like Ginnie Mae, has taken the steps and maybe just benefit from some of those lessons learned to begin small wins, but they could be very powerful for the future in terms of how you continue to modernize and grow. Because with AI here, everything is growing exponentially. The changes are just, like it said in this morning's session, change is the only constant thing in this world, right? So I think that really excited that we are here in this time of change, and with all these technologies that allow us to be quick, agile, low code is definitely a wonderful tool to help us, because sometimes just dragging and drop is so much easier than coding in Java. So, so with that, we're going to close up with some thoughts from Leslie and Belinda regarding how women that are in, the financial sector, and the new generation of women in the financial sector would like to maybe follow this type of career path. What advice would you give them so that they feel empowered to, just go out there and do what they need to do to be successful?
I'm going to go first. Sure. So I have 4 things that I really think that I actually use as my guideposts. One is that I think you need to have a personal board of directors. So you need to have folks in your corner that are in positions that they walk the walk, that when you have conversations with them, they can realistically tell you, whether you're going right or left. And you need to make adjustments to approach this differently than you are. The second thing is to be open to feedback, whether it's good or bad, because I know constructive feedback is often tough, but you just need to absorb it, and you need to figure out what applies and make the adjustments and keep it moving. And then the third one is aligning with someone who supports you, aligning with someone who basically puts you in positions where you are uncomfortable and they force you to grow and be a better version of yourself. And then lastly, and I think this is most important because as women, you know, this is not something that is a give me. You have to know your craft and you have to continually upskill. You have to continually put yourself in situations where you learn more, you're uncomfortable, and you become something new out of what you were. Like, you know, like you're a butterfly, you know what I mean? You're breaking through that cocoon into something else. And it's challenging, but at the end of the day, you know, you live to fight another day and you live to learn another day. And that's all you can hope for.
Thank you. Leslie?
So I'll broaden that question a little bit. I agree with absolutely everything she said. Absolutely. But as a boomer here, I would tell you that always be open to change.
Yes.
Be curious for curiosity's sake.
Yes.
When we kind of close ourselves off because we always did it that way or we always have thought that way, you know what? Time to exit. Time to retire. But I would also say, always know where your expertise begins and ends. I have followed that my whole career, and we all know people that wax poetic at meetings, and they don't know what they're talking about. You gain credibility when you speak. You do know what you're talking about, and then comes respect for you in terms of your craft and what you do. So those are just some broader things I could offer as someone who is generations beyond most of you, but who has tried to remain very open to the world and to think and experiencing something like this. When they first showed me the first iteration, I think of the compliance module, I was like a kid in a candy store. I hadn't been that happy in I don't know how long because it was just so delightful to just see where we are in this world. So that is what I would offer, all of you.
That is so wonderful. Thank you both for enlightening us, and we are going to open it up to questions for anyone on the audience with regards to it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Charles. I'm an IT examiner from the state of Pennsylvania. And so I too come to Appian by way of CSBS. We got a demo of the SES system. We also worked collaboratively with the OCC and got to demo their system. And so as part of this work group, I'm working kind of across boundaries, so to speak, working as an IT examiner, but working through CSBS, who has a license. Can you talk briefly about some of the metrics that you're already experiencing relative to the performance that you're seeing in this utilization of an agile development process?
Well, we have not deployed the technology yet. So that's coming, I think, in a couple weeks. Yeah. So then, that will really be, for us, we'll be able to start to measure, output, efficiencies, having control over the protocols ourselves. We've always depended on contractors for all of this work. So now we have the opportunity to build and have control over these workflows and start to insource the work at Ginnie Mae and bring in the expertise now and build the expertise in-house.
We can give you our contact information. You can follow up with us after implementation.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? There's one right there.
So my question is about product owners. Feel free, either of you, to answer, but I think they're on Leslie's team, the product owner. So I think one of the challenges of being a product owner is that you have to take so much feedback from a lot of stakeholders. And particularly, I would assume that's the case in Ginnie Mae's line of business. So my question is, do you have any lessons learned or keys to empowering those product owners to make decisions that's best for the group with all of that feedback?
Sure, and I think in this case, the individuals we name product owners truly own those workflows and those business lines. So they were just, there aren't that many of us at Ginnie Mae, I mean, a couple hundred people. So they were just naturally empowered. And I believe as a leader that people have to own their spaces, own their processes. It's their business line to run. I'm there for consultation, I'm there for oversight, but I have the utmost confidence in these people that they know their stuff, and they certainly do. So, but I understand, I mean, you can have a confluence of feedback loops that could start to hinder progress. In this case, we didn't have kind of that issue at hand just because of our bandwidth issues to begin with. But it has worked quite well, and there's just a lot of skin in the game for them because they're looking forward to doing something differently going forward, and we're already thinking of other use cases. I mean, there's so much applicability of this, and the development effort has been to build a new system of record so that we can start to really have all of our data, all of our workflows, everything in one place for our staff. Because today we go to probably 10 different places for information to do things.
I will say that what I've seen with the product owners is that in some of the sessions, there were a lot of questions that were thrown at them. And it was in the cases where they couldn't necessarily respond, being able to kind of table those questions for later and come back. They would consult with the team to make sure they understood exactly where the question was going and then come back with a response. But, to Leslie's point, it is a small group, and that pocket of knowledge was there. So there wasn't many questions that they couldn't respond to. So I would say lessons learned is really about the preparedness, and then being able to have the ability to revert to your team and have the conversations to make sure that you're answering from a truthful space.
And I would say don't try to boil the ocean,
Yeah.
right? Because they have a day job plus this. So Leslie and team, they picked the top areas that were the most impactful to their day-to-day jobs. So they learned the tool, they learned what they needed, they provided the feedback, and they didn't mind the extra time they had to spend. But if you tried, a lot of organizations in the federal government, they put these big solicitations out to really make this mega system. It's not easy for product owners to engage at that level.
And so what we're rolling out are minimally viable products, but we'll be able to run the process. And so, and I've had to kind of keep the team, I mean, they want all these bells and whistles to come, and I'm like, just let's hold it. Let's get this out there, let's use it. We actually delayed the use of the financial statement audit one because it was our busy season. So we thought, okay, it's probably not good to start this with 300 audits rolling in the door at one time. Let's do the next segment, which is like 20 or so, because we just want to get time with it. And then I said, then we can put the bells and whistles on, because there's definitely things we'd like to enhance now, obviously. But it's just you got to walk before you run. And sometimes I think we approach things where it's got to be everything all at once with everything, and it just doesn't usually turn out particularly well. So we're taking a steady approach, and but it's just such a game changer for us. It's just really kind of monumental for us at Ginnie Mae. So we're really excited.
I think we have time for one more question.
Could you speak to your experience with upskilling talent within your organization and your journey to getting here?
Well, what we felt was most important, especially with this engagement, was we had the support of a contractor who was kind of liaisoning with the technologists, the Appian folks. And then my folks sat in there just as the subject matter experts. Now, they've certainly learned a lot in this process. We have thought in the past to maybe put a more technical person in the group as a technical liaison. We do have someone who kind of plays that role today with different projects because there's so many going on. But that's a good point. I mean, we've talked about the future of work at Ginnie Mae. So in the future, what will my current employees really be doing? If we would put the right technology in place, it's not their jobs today. Because my team runs after, today is a lot of compliance matters. I mean, it's a very manual. And so we're trying to change that game now so that the work of the future will look very different at Ginnie Mae. And the skill sets that we will be looking for will be highly analytical, much more, it'll just be in a different space. And also the ability to use certain technologies, right? So that is the upskilling that we're looking forward to doing, to your point. But we've done a lot of work. We've already done position descriptions and everything about the worker of the future in a variety of Ginnie Mae offices. It's going to look very different than it does today if we can get there.
And we had an internal effort where myself and Omar were actually on a team looking at the different types of positions that we would want to bring in to transform the landscape of Ginnie from an employee perspective. So a lot of positions that you might see in the private sector or nuances of those positions in the private sector that don't exist in the federal government, we went through the effort of creating the PDs and the job announcements that they use to hire to put those in place for when we do ramp up the hiring for that type of employee. And then the other thing from an upskilling perspective is really looking what's on the landscape from a tech perspective, and then having the resumes of your employees and understanding, well, what types of courses do I need to potentially put them in, or maybe conferences that I send them to, or maybe partner them with certain individuals that have that skill set to help them pick up on, on those particular skills that they don't have and improve their knowledge in that space. Some of it you could do without an outlay of funds, and some of them it does require an investment. But it can be done. I mean, even with my team, that's one of the things that I primarily do. I look to see where the industry is going, and then I put together a whole plan on, okay, these are the types of trainings I would like you to look into, and these are the certs that I want you to get. You're welcome.
Thank you. Maybe one more question?
Is there a question? Kyle.
Sure. I was just curious, you touched on this a little bit about kind of the implementation process, or you kind of hinted about the go live coming up soon. I know there's some folks in the room who are also looking at deploying a new solution to a fairly large user base. I'm just wondering what your strategy, if you can just give a couple highlights of what your strategy looks like. Is it big bang? Is it phase in? Kind of what goes into that?
No, so it won't be a big bang. We don't do an exam on every Ginnie Mae issuer every year. It's like a rolling 3-year plan for them. So we'll be obviously identifying issuers that need to come on earlier than others. I mean, it will be on an as need. The audits come in, 4 times a year, depending on when their end of year closes as a business. So it won't be a big bang. The insurance, I believe, may be the biggest bang we've got, maybe because we want everyone to know. But I find the interface very intuitive. This should not be hard for anybody to pick up. But it is our whole issuer base. And in some, we also manage document custodians, and document custodians also will have to get engaged. So there's an adoption plan, there's training materials, all the above, and we'll be rolling this out just a little more piecemeal. Now, if people want to be trained early, they can. I mean, we're not going to preclude that, but certainly it's really on as you're coming on to, we identify you for a compliance review, or your financials are due, or something like that, they'll have to get onto the systems.
And we do have a customer experience group that we leverage.
Yeah.
And normally we with every project, we bring them in, and they'll assess that particular project to understand what the impacts are to the external stakeholders, and they'll define a plan and a strategy to roll out the product for them. Normally that has, from a training, there's usually quick reference materials. There's live trainings, there's recorded trainings, there's different types of Q&As. We'll have live sessions where we take in questions, and sometimes we do live trainings where we walk them through the product on the fly. So we do try to pay close attention to how the customer does receive the product and make the adjustments so that it runs as smoothly as possible. Because when it doesn't, then the noise that you get is pretty difficult to manage. So we try to avoid that. That's definitely a lessons learned. So.
And with that, we thank you for being here this afternoon and sharing with us the experiences. And if you have any questions, like I said, please let us know. We are going to be around, and thank you again.
Thank you.